So good morning, all, and appreciate joining. Beth joined us. Are you not in Savannah, or are you on the road or on the way to Savannah, Beth?
We are in the car on the way to Savannah.
Oh, okay. Well, as I said, if you run into some distinguished-looking gentleman named Kevin, say hi to my brother. He lives in Savannah. He's a tour guide down there.
Oh, okay. Great.
Hi, Beth.
Hello.
That's Joey yelling hi. Well, for today, we're going to do some videos, and I guess the subtitle could be a work in progress because I didn't get everything finished that I'd had wanted to, and I just want to give folks a quick explanation of what we're going to see and why it's not finished. The scanner that I have is really great, and it does a great job. You can do 8mm and 16, and I don't have the adapter for 35 and everything. And the way it works is it's, projectors have little claws that grab the sprocket hole and move it a frame and a frame and a frame. This is a sprocketless system where it uses tension on the film, takes it through a path, goes across the light into a camera and onto a supply reel. It works really well, but unfortunately, they guy that built it has had a number of problems with clutches. You've got to have enough tension on the supply reel that it keeps it taut against when it goes through the camera, because if it's not taut, then you get blurriness. So it was working well for a while, and all of a sudden it would break films because the clutch would just freeze on it, and it has, again, the take-up motor is pulling, and it just snapped the film. Usually it'll bit splice, and you could put them back together. So he came up with Mark II of the clutches. That worked well for about 6 months and started breaking film. So he came up with version 3, which was a totally different design version of the clutch, and that worked well. Except they were using, that one he was using a 3D printed part, and they found over time the plastic of the two pieces going together would start rubbing. So I had the opposite problem, that it would not engage. So I'd go to rewind a film, and it would be part of the way rewinding, and it just stop. So he said, okay, I got the same clutch now, but with better 3D parts, and it's working great. So I got the kit to install it, and he says it's a 1 to 2 hour job. Can we see where we're going from there? So the thing came in, and the first thing I did to try to be smart is I laid out all the parts on the table for rubber pulleys and wheels and spacers. It had about 40 parts in it. And oh, we're short 2 screws. Okay, so that means go down to the DIY store, buy 2 screws for a total of 32 cents, and bring them back. But there goes my first hour of my my 1 to 2 hours. Then there's a next one of the steps is take a square head bolt and put it, or not, whatever, 6-sided head bolt, put into a square hole so that it will go all the way in, and the hole will keep the bolt from turning. Except the hole that was off to the side, and the bolt wouldn't fit. So now it's come and drill the hole and get that through. So I get the whole thing put together, and the thing that's confusing is the instructions that I have don't exactly match the parts that I have. They look a little different. So I call him up and said, I don't understand. There's 2 wires here, and I don't know why they're here. And he goes, well, it's right in the instructions. And I said, it's not in the instructions at all. He goes, oh, yes, it is. So I said, all right, let's go through the instructions page by page. Oh, I sent you the instructions before I updated the kit and added that part. So I put it all together, and there's a thing on the instructions. You can test it for how the thing goes in reverse and how it goes forward, and everything's going great. I put it in the scanner, turn it on, and it's not working. It's starting to, grab films and lock up again. So I call the guy, and he's insisting I must have gotten these 2 wires backwards. So I go and I take pictures of because the red wire has to match the black wire with the white stripe. It does. Well, then it can't be going backwards like you say. So I finally, okay, here, let me watch. I take my phone, we're doing FaceTime, watch it. Okay, is the wire where it's supposed to be? Yeah, wires. Okay, here, watch. Oh, it shouldn't do that. I've never seen it do that before. So, okay, let's take the 2 wires and switch them over, which he says that won't work. I know it won't work, and it works. So that anyway, my 1 to 2 hour repair job became about a 7 to 8 hour repair job. So, it's like the guy says, I've made several hundred, if not thousands, of these scanners. I can't understand how that's happening. And I said, well, I'm not going to ask. The fact that it now works, it works. So I got a whole bunch of stuff scanned, but that's only the first step of it. As I mentioned, the second step is to run it through a stabilization and color correction process. And that takes about an hour for every 3 minutes of film. So I had a whole bunch of film, and what I would do is basically let it crunch away at night. And then my thought was I would go and, do the next step, which is cutting out the bad bits, doing some more color correction, sharpening it up. And I would do that on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, because I'd finish the scanner on Tuesday. Well, Wednesday ran down a hole of a Boy Scout project that's not going well, and trying to get that fixed. And then on Thursday, somebody else was supposed to be in charge of giving out 1,000 turkeys at a charity giveaway. He unfortunately couldn't make it. So Wednesday, I found out that I'm now in charge of taking care of 1,000 turkeys. And so that Thursday was unexpected. And then I started, okay, I'll finish getting some of the stuff done when I get home from patrol on Friday. And as we're driving back to the station, a call goes out for an airplane down in the next town. So we went over there, and turned out there wasn't an airplane down, but we're doing what we call a grid search. And the streets in this area look more like spaghetti. So you can imagine trying to do a grid search where the streets are not in a grid and make sure that you've got it. So anyway, what we're going to see now is stuff that is through stage 1 scanning, through stage 2, which is the stabilization and the beginning of color correction. And someday in the future, we will maybe see some of the other stuff, which is fixed all the way. So the first one I'm going to start with, I'm going to do a number of souvenir films from Disneyland. And this one is kind of interesting. It's Tomorrowland in the 1950s. And I had never seen in person this version of Tomorrowland. Maybe some of our Southern California folks have. But in 1967, they did a major redo of Tomorrowland. And the early one is quite different. You're going to see, for example, when you go through the scenes of the Skyway, lots of the Skyway buckets, and in the background, a giant tower, which was the Holiday Hill, just a giant pile of dirt left from all the other construction in Disneyland, and it's now where the Matterhorn is. So let me get this thing queued up here. Okay, and let me share the screen. Come on, stop. Okay, hang on here 1 second. Here we go. Share screen. Okay, and we are going to, where is it? Share screen. Okay, I don't remember if we have any sound, but I'll put it on just in case we do. So here is our Disneyland in the 1950s. Please move this window away from, okay. This was done by a company called Hollywood Film Enterprises. They have had the license for years and years with Disney to do home movies. So all the movies of Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck cartoons, they would put them out. They would edit them down. In some cases, they would do the full-length versions, but in others, they would take a 3-minute movie and make separate cartoons out. So they had the original contract to do the first batch of the Disneyland souvenirs, and this is their Tomorrowland one. As I said, when I run it through the next process, we'll take out some of the grain, more of the noise, that sort of stuff. But I would have loved to seen this version of Tomorrowland. Did anybody go to it back when it was there with the TWA rocket?
Yes, I did.
Oh, well, this ought to be, how about you see this? Did you see the Hall of Chemistry?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Wow. Yeah, I'm living vicariously there. Yeah, the Hall of Chemistry was examples of how you would combine different chemicals to make nylon and Orlon and all these other great things. Circarama was the first name that they gave Circle Vision. And the name was kind of interesting. Circarama was sponsored by American Motors. And there's a Holiday Hill in the background, which is now the Matterhorn. It's a great shot, though, of the Skyway. I've never seen it with so many buckets on it. So Circarama, they actually put the the 360 cameras up on the roof of a car and drove it around. So can't quite make it. That sign looks pretty high, doesn't it, for the Autopia?
Yeah.
And there's the Autopia pre-center rail. It was sponsored by Atlantic Richfield, so there's 2 Atlantic Richfield gas pumps prominently in the front there. Sign over to the right for American Richfield Gas, which we now know today is Arco. But look how different the whole thing was. You actually drove the cars. For the people that worked there, the nickname for the Autopia was Blood Alley. You'd be unloading the cars, and somebody 8 cars behind you would come crashing into the thing, and they would all come crunching up. And you had to learn very quickly on where to stand and where not to stand. And a lot of people started wearing very heavy boots so they didn't get their feet run over or other odds and ends by you tell people to stop. Oh, this one I love, the spaceman and space girl, because everybody knows when you go on your trip to the moon, if you're a well-dressed space girl, you've got to have a cape. I always
I
wondered.
wonder how hot it was in that helmet.
Yeah, you wonder about that. Thing that's going out there. She got the better part of the deal. She had fresh air. But I wonder if any of these costumes survived. At the final day, they said no more walking around in those. If somebody had the foresight to, put away that helmet and stuff. Yeah, because you've probably been a character out in the park, Brock. You know how hot it can be. You ever Disney Way?
Yep.
Yeah.
I was Brer Bear.
Oh, you're the right size for that, huh?
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna jump up
I was
to.
thinking it must have been really hot to work on Autopia. It just seemed like all that black asphalt and completely open to the sun. I can't imagine being a cast member there during that time.
Oh, well,
The dangers of being run over.
plus the exhaust from all the cars.
Right.
When we were doing the turkey giveaway on Thursday, we said we'd start at 9. People were actually lined up at 7. And we were trying to tell them, please turn off your cars, because we had them all lined up in a parking lot, up and down this aisle, down that aisle, down that aisle. And just standing out there, the exhaust was just god awful. This is a Super 8 movie, Souvenir of America on Parade. As I said, I'll be able to take it and do something more with the colors and the corrections. But I have a real soft spot for America on Parade. That was the big event that was going on when I started in 1976. And I got a real kick out of, going to see it in Florida when I was down there, did my interview and everything. And then they flew me out to California when they wanted to move me out here, saw the same parade, go back, get the job. It was just so neat, though, to, go backstage for the very first time and, see this. And I mentioned last week, tried one of those costumes on, and boy, I have real admiration for the people that could do this parade. You think if any one of us was walking down the street and somebody basically told you to put a 10-pound hat on your head and bend over and stand back up or dance around, the center of gravity on these things was horrific. But they seem to be doing pretty well with them, don't they?
What was that scene when someone's being dipped in the giant kettle?
I didn't happen to see something in the giant kettle.
Okay. It was someone's all tied up and they were kind of being dipped into it. Like it was, I don't know, like they were being punished or maybe.
Yeah, I think it's an old form of punishment where you were dunked for whatever crime you did.
Right.
Yeah, they would have ducking stools, and they would dip you into a pond or something else. And if you were, bad, you got 2 dunks. If you were really bad, you got 4 dunks.
Thanks.
No problem. Betsy Ross. I think this was around the time when they went to a zone system for the sound effects in the park, so that as the floats went by you, the background music and everything would change to match the the action going on in the street. So
I think you're right on that. That's about the first time they tried it was, I think they actually worked the whole thing out for this parade, because
Right.
they felt it was, the nature of it was one where you had to have that music. It was all themed to those eras and stuff like that. And it would be kind of weird to.
Yeah, just have a generic background music. Yeah, so each of these floats would have a little antenna on it and would basically tell a computer, I'm in now zone 1. And so they would switch the zone 1 background music over to match the float going by. But it was a real effort to do it, because you just didn't want to have the music go abruptly, stop dead from playing steamboat music to, I don't know, TV music or something. So they had to have all the soundtracks with, bridges between A and B, and then the computer would figure out how close it is to the bridge and go through and match it. It was very, very well done, particularly considering the computer technology available in 1975. And they'd use the same technology for the electrical light parade as well.
There's the golden spike.
Yeah. But doing this parade twice a day, this massive, I mean, it ran quite a while. It was a long, long parade.
As you can see, the floats were pretty good size. So when it was backstage, I think it filled up the whole backstage area behind.
Yeah, my parking spot was back behind Main Street, and during the American Parade time, we were told if you were not in or not out of there by a certain time, you were staying, because they blocked everything in back there. I mean, they were just toe to toe to toe. So I said, okay, I will not use my parking spot. I will park out in the main employee parking lot, and it was a lot easier to get in and out than during this. What was also interesting was seeing, again, the thought. I was so thrilled to be part of the the team at this point. I had nothing to do, of course, with the parade, but you'd go backstage and there'd be all sorts of people running around with ladders to get, like, this person here off this megaphone. They'd be running up there with ladders as quick as possible to get the people off, and because these people couldn't get the costumes off themselves. And then on a hot day and everything, they were doing their best to get them down and get them hydrated and everything. So literally, you'd go backstage and it'd be 30 people running around with ladders and bracing them and getting those people down. Just the things you don't think about when you watch the cute parade going by. That how do you get the person on and off of the giant megaphone? I remember one time I was there and there was one character that had gone off someplace on break and had not come back on time, and they basically were screaming at him to get up on the top of the float, because the entire parade is now waiting. I would not want to be that person getting the lecture at the end of the parade.
As a kid, I always wanted to make a giant, like, dogwood sandwich like that.
Yeah.
All Scooby-Doo cartoons with Shaggy making those and earlier.
Yeah. Now, how, Mom, I'm in showbiz. I mean, can you imagine being a telephone receiver and walking in after the entire parade?
Yeah.
Bill, that would be my dream job. I'd want to be the receiver.
Well, I used to work for the phone company. I'll fight you for it.
I wonder how it looked on a resume.
Yeah, it probably looked really good. Key performer in major, production, entertained millions for hit seasons.
Yeah.
Excuse me one
Well-
second. Somebody's at the door. I think it's our mailman. Excuse me. Wow. We have a replacement mail carrier. Well, ours is out injured, and I just happened to spot on my ring that he was out there dropping the stuff off. And you put the form in online, please pick up package, and I think it has about a 20% success rate. So I just had to run out and give him the mail. Anybody know the names of the two bears there? That's Bongo and Lulabill. Bongo, I forget which was Make Mine Music or Melody Time, one of the two of them. Bongo was the cartoon character in that. And we're getting near the end. Mentioned last week, they would invite marching bands from various schools to come in and be in the finale section of the parade. And there's the most important part of the parade coming behind it, their rope to keep everybody back. And goodbye, Uncle Sam. All right, so we're gonna go into we saw before Tomorrowland in the 50s. Now we're gonna see a day at Disneyland in the 1960s.
There he is. You're muted, Bill.
I don't know what happened there. Is people still seeing the movie?
No movie.
No movie. I do not know what happened there. All of a sudden the screen flashed up, and let me bring this back here.
Well, your picture dropped out. You were gone for a moment.
Weird. Must have had a momentary connection problem. Okay, let me go back here. Come on. And we'll fix this again. Share screen. Yeah, totally reset all the settings here too. So weird. Okay. So now you should see the movie, right?
Yep.
Okay. So this is the 1960s. Again, I mentioned last week, there's about 6 versions of A Day at Disneyland. And you have to try to go back and date these by what's there and what's not there. So, the Hunchback of Notre Dame, I could try to come out and, see when that appears as film in, still photos, that sort of thing. We know that this is at least 1965 now because of Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln. He appeared at the World's Fair in '64, and then they brought him out here to, I could probably date this one real well with the Spectacular Balloon Ascent. They brought Lincoln out here, and he was both at Disneyland and the World's Fair in '65. The balloon ascent, and I don't know if that's in this movie or not, they took balloons from Around the World in 80 Days and launched it in Disneyland, thinking it would be a great photo op. And you watch the movies, which I know I have, it's in one of these souvenirs. All of a sudden, it starts going into the trees, and they came very close to popping the balloon right there. So it was a real near disaster in the making. Dopey with his flapping ears. The old Fantasyland.
But it's Dumbo with the solid ears.
I was just going to mention that. Yeah, I mentioned in prior ones how they had the movable ears that were too heavy, and you could see they recast them. There was no seam anymore for the ear mechanism. Good catch. This film, by the way, was bright, solid red. So this is the first stage of recovery, trying to get it back. And again, I'll work on it more on the computer. Looks like a cold day. The hostess is all dressed up there in a heavy coat. I wonder how many of these movies they sold over the years, and then how many of them, the family would pull out and watch again. I guess if the kids say, "Daddy, you want to go back to Disneyland?" This is a cheaper way to do it. This one was Super 8, by the way, so it has a little better picture quality and stability than a standard 8. Imagine laying all that out. Wow. What goes where? Where do you put the pylon that doesn't get in the way of something else?
You know, the typical dialogue that a family would say to each other when they watch these films after they go back home would be, "Oh yeah, I remember going there," or "How come we didn't go on that ride, Daddy?"
Yeah.
Or, you know, or "Oh yeah, I remember that place. That's where, Timmy bumped his foot into the thing," or something like that. That would be those would be the typical dialogues that a family would say to each other when they got home and watch the film. And then of course the film would go in the closet for a couple of years and they'd come back out again. But I figured I'd offer that commentary.
Yeah, no, you're probably 100% right. With one of my younger brothers who tended to get real excited at theme parks and overeat, this dialogue would be, "Oh, that's where Jerry threw up." But
Yeah, looking at that last picture of the Matterhorn, I wonder how many people today that go to the park even realize there used to be single bobsleds instead of the tandem bobsleds.
yeah.
Because it definitely was a different feel to it when you went to tandem.
Absolutely. Doesn't the people mover just look great?
Yeah, it adds so much animation to that whole area. It's
Yeah.
a shame they took it out.
Also noticing that it didn't have the extra railing around it.
Oh, it did not. Oh, yeah, you're right. This was
Yeah.
very early then. That's a good way to date this.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, the early, easier to jump out version. This is interesting, that scene there with Mr. Johnston was slightly out of focus. You figure they couldn't get that right for their own movie. I should have warned everybody to hold on. We're on our way to the moon. All of a sudden, I want a Dole Whip. The Tiki Birds, being very, very early version of audio animatronics, was controlled by literally audio. On later years, the terms become kind of a misnomer, but there were tapes with sounds, and a certain sound would make the bird's head turn left, another sound would make it turn right. And down in the basement for the Tiki Birds was a room full of all these relays that the tape would go by, it would listen for the sound, actuate a relay, and the bird would move. And it was incredibly noisy down there. Were you ever down there, Brock?
Not during that, not when the show was running, so I never saw that.
Oh yeah, I mean it's just it reminded me again. I had worked for the phone company earlier. It reminded me so much of being in one of what we call the old, the old switching centers and the rotary dials and clicking relays. It was amazing, and they had a little rubber mallet down there that they would come by and if a bird got stuck, they would come and tap the relay with a little rubber mallet and free it up. And then if it stayed stuck, they'd had boxes and boxes. They would, in between shows and stuff, replace the relays. But it was incredible technology to be sitting down there with the thing clickety clackety clackety. It was really noisy, but it worked.
Yeah.
These gentlemen played for years and years at the park at New Orleans Square.
Do they have any entertainment today like that at all?
The last time we were down there was a couple months ago. I was surprised how much of it they had brought back because I knew they had done away with most of the street entertainment. And we walked into the park and there was somebody playing out in front of Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln. And as we went through it, there was a group right outside of Pirates. I think we saw probably 4 groups during the time we were there for the day. So I was very pleased to see them back.
That's good.
Yeah, we're going again December 6th, so I'll try to give you a report.
I can't see Johnny Depp in here anywhere.
You look at some of these things and you think about how many times that paddle wheel has gone around, in the years that this thing's been built. I mean, how many trips that has the boat taken around the island? And it's astonishing when you think how old some of these things are, and they're still in use today.
Boy, they queued that duck up well.
Yeah, you didn't hear the relay click. And this is where bear country is today, but the Indians would come out, give a whole performance with the eagle dance and others, and then they would invite the kids in the audience to come out and join them for the finale.
Bill, is that riverboat actually seaworthy?
Well, I wouldn't want to take it out in an ocean, but it does float, and it's guided by a rail, but it is an actual floating boat.
Okay. 'Cause,
Yeah. Yeah, This was again one of the greatest parts of the park. I absolutely love Nature's Wonderland. It was I'd seen it on what you call it TV, and to get out there was just a real kick with the tumbling rocks and the uh, animals ready to leap on you, and it was just, well, watch out for the snakes. I mean, it was really a great spot. And this is where I would walk out on Mondays and Tuesdays when the park was closed. And you'd be out there, you couldn't tell you were in the city of Anaheim. It was just really cool. Bicycle built for 4. The guy in the back riding backwards. And you can look at some of the shops. So many of them have changed and gone now. There's certainly no more Butcher Shop or Swift Meat or Upjohn Pharmacy, or almost all of this on Main Street has changed now.
Bill, do the shops on Main Street have a second and third, second floor, or is that just the way it looks?
It's either stock rooms or offices. There's
I see.
no show component up there.
Okay.
So if you remember from that first film where the Astrojets are there, that's where they used to have the place where they had the little model airplanes that they would be on cables. Guys would run them around. That was the early entertainment in the first years.
Yeah, they had that, and I think they did also model boats, if I remember right.
Yeah, there was a little waterway thing, but the planes were more fun to watch because they could do so much more. The boats just kind of went around in the circle in the water. With the planes, they did some pretty interesting things with them.
Yeah.
That's before the days of remote control.
Yeah, today we have a drone dome, right?
Yeah.
So this was there was 2 of these previously shown attraction highlights. One, and they came up with the second one here. This is another Super 8 film, and again, we'll get further adjusting as it goes on. But this was a great way. They put out films for each of the lands, and now they did general highlights. So America Sings, I absolutely love that show. I thought it was really, really well done. And the Carousel Progress was great, but if you got to take that out and put something in, I thought this was a very entertaining show, and sorry to see it gone. Somewhere I have a beta movie I took of the show. I've got to find that and get it off of beta someday before I still have the opportunity. But I sat there, I think, in the first or second row with the camera for the whole time, and the sound of this is all so burned into my brain right now from so many trips of this. I mean, he sits out here and goes, "It's the good life."
Your cue is just a second and a half off there.
Yeah, I didn't realize he was actually going to get there. I can hear the music here, which I will not subject you to, as all the flowers and everything are growing. But I just remember him. It was a good life.
Yeah.
And once you come home, Bill Bailey, and the whole thing. Here come the Swamp Boys.
All I remember is Pop Goes the Weasel.
Yeah, that did get a little old after a while. But these are some of the figures they repurposed for the Splash Mountain. When they close this down, they put them over there. So I said it's a highlight. So we're hopping all over from one part of the park to another. No, Carlos, don't tell them. I don't think I ever noticed before that that pirate had a tattoo in his hand. She now resides in the Disney archives. This is before they changed it to the women chasing the pirates.
So much more authentic that way.
Yes, right. Oh, no Johnny Depp, you're right.
Yeah, he put on a little weight.
I remember being in Florida one time where the donkey had broken, so they took it out of the scene, and as you went by, he was still braying, and somebody made a comment about it, and to Disney's credit, they went and found the audio track of the donkey and isolated it and cut it out until they could get the donkey repaired and back on show. Again, nice attentions to detail.
Well,
You
I
know,
remember
the odd thing about watching these without sound is that when you've been through them, you recall not only the music that accompanied the trip, but the clickety clack of all the audio animatronics that was going on. And you don't get that here. You just get dead silence, because I remember, last I went through Pirates, you get the music and you get the atmosphere and the mist of the water and everything, but it was also just all the noise from the audio animatronics that you could hear as well too, which is lost when you see it, without sound.
Well, if you want, I can tap a pen on my desk.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, sing and hum a little too.
Oh, no, no, no. The Country Bears, Mr. Pete Renaday giving his bear impression. We haven't seen Pete for a while, but we ran into him in the market one time, and you're talking to him, and just so weird to be talking to Henry the Bear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Blood on the saddle. Great big puddles. Yeah, I gotta go back to Florida soon and get my country bear fix.
Keep singing, Bill. We didn't tell you to stop.
No, it's illegal for me to sing in 27 states. Poor Carol, no, I proverbially can't carry a tune in a bucket. I like to joke that I hope my kids have turned out well, but if not, it's probably because I sang them to bed with a medley of Disney songs. Like, how many kids can claim they got sung to bed, to sleep to the sound of the Boys of the Western Sea, the rollicking company, they'll make things run, they'll soon become the Men of the Western Sea, or the Scarecrow of Romney Marsh, or any one of a million different things that are burned into my brain. But this is this I mentioned last week, this is the sort of stuff I thought I'd be getting into Disney, programming Country Bears and that. And, going down there the first time and seeing this stuff, it just was mind boggling to me as a computer guy. And I didn't expect to end up going into the direction that I did. But, I just remember watching these shows thinking about all the technology making this thing work and how well everything was blended together.
I still have Toot, Whistle, Plunk, and Boom rattling through my brain a lot. I listened to that record endlessly when I was a child, and of course you can see the animation. You can pick it up on YouTube. But yeah, that's one of the Disney songs that just stuck in my brain over the years. And every once in a while, something will key my mind and is everybody here? Yes, teacher.
Yeah, that's funny. That's not one that would have first come to my thought as a earworm, but that's interesting. Yeah, that was a big thing for Disney, being one of the first CinemaScope cartoons they did. They just on Disney Plus restored a number of films, and one of them was Chips Ahoy. The Chip and Dale used Donald's boat to go get a whole thing of acorns off an island. And I hadn't seen it for, I loved it because they did a big little book on it, you know, when I was growing up, one of the little golden books. And I watched the cartoon and they took out about 6 seconds where Donald takes a cigar, puffs smoke on the chipmunks to make them think that they're in a storm. And they took out the stuff because you can't show Donald with a cigar these days. And it's just like amazing to me that they would, you know, take that out, you know, because you can't have, you know, they couldn't put a warning on it, contains depictions of tobacco use or something. Instead, they had to edit the cartoon. Really amazing.
You know, I have a slight renewed affection for Donald Duck. I never did like him as a character, only because I could never understood what he said. You know, I just never understood a single word he said, and so I just never liked him as a character. Never watched him, just had no interest in him until I don't know, last month, 2 months ago, when they season premiered Wonderful World of Disney on ABC on Sunday night, and when they premiered it, they aired that little 8-minute Disney film about being in the studio. And I don't know, you know, halfway through it, a third of the way through it, everybody's trying to rush out and all the characters are rushing through, and Donald Duck gets in the elevator and has to hold the door open for the big roly-poly character that just went real slow. And there was a 1-second scene there where, you know, they focus back on Donald and he just looks exasperated. And I laughed so hard at just the way he was looking exasperated, holding the door open, waiting for this guy to take his time getting into the elevator. And I thought, oh, I've never seen that in him before like that.
That's funny.
And I just thought it was the greatest thing I'd seen out of Donald Duck. But I don't, you know, he's not much of a character to me because I just never understood a word he said. But I certainly loved that little 1-second scene of him looking exasperated. I just thought that was superb.
That's neat. Now they got you hooked and you're going to start going Donald mania.
Well, I have a little bit, you know, been watching him a little bit more, but it's still, you know, he mumbles too much, and I just that voice of his just just has never done it for me. I know a lot of people love it, but I just never did anything for me.
Well, I may have mentioned this in another talk. One day I was down at Disneyland and going to see America the Beautiful. And I was, you know, in the pre-show area, and this guy is talking like Donald Duck to this little girl, and she's getting kind of scared that this weird old man is, you know, talking to her that way. And I said to her, you know, that's the real voice of Donald Duck. That's Clarence Nash. And he was so happy somebody knew his name that, you know, it wasn't just that they knew he was the voice of Donald Duck, but they actually knew his name. So I had a real nice chat with him for a few minutes beforehand, and I confessed I couldn't understand half of what he said. And he said, yeah, you know, a lot of times, you know, people would think he was saying stuff he wasn't. And he goes, let them fill it in their imagination. But, you know, it was just really weird to run into him like that.
I mean, that was his real voice?
No, he did. He came to Disney's attention by doing bird calls. He was with a dairy in the LA area that would deliver, you know, milk and vegetables and, you know, bread and stuff to your place. and he started doing bird calls. You might notice, by the way, how they reused some of the same footage here from the highlights reel. But he then started getting parts on the radio where he would do bird calls and imitations and that, and Walt heard him, and that's where they came up with the voice of Donald Duck when he came into audition and did the Duck's voice, and they said, we got to find a voice, find a character for that voice.
Gotcha.
So that's when he did the wise little hen. So that's the end of that one. Let's see, and I think that's the end of the yeah, the souvenir one. So let's go to Disneyland, and we'll see some home movies here. Okay. I have to look up what year this was. I don't have it off the top of my head, but this is now California Adventure. At the main parking lot, not busy day. And there's the 2 domes for the Rocket to the Moon ride. I tell you, if you can imagine pulling in on a day like today and seeing how empty this parking lot is, knowing you're going to have a nice day crowd-wise.
My guess is it's in the 50s
I
based
think
on
this is
the
58, if I remember right, based on
Yeah.
the
car and the moon rocket and just everything that's not there.
yeah, no Matterhorn.
Yeah.
No lines.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, that's it. Probably middle of the week in the 50s, you could walk in like this and have the whole park to yourself.
Yeah. As the sign said, Monday, the closed Mondays and Tuesdays. The prices there are really, 90 cents or something, general admission. Interesting here, because it's only closed on Monday. When I was there, it was closed Mondays and Tuesdays during the off season.
Yeah.
Another way to date these is try to take the attendance sign, out in front of the park and data from that. So it looks like the crowd, those people probably got there real early. Now the others have gotten there and it's time to start going in.
Yeah, they were there at 9 o'clock, not 10 o'clock when the park
Yeah.
opened.
So, Joey, have you never been to Disneyland?
Oh, is that for me?
Yeah.
Is that for me? Yeah, my mother and father took me when it opened.
Cool.
Disney
Cool.
World, that is. Yeah, Disneyland. I was there 2 times on 2 California trips.
Oh, good.
And how many pieces did you take home with you?
I took last time I was there, one of the bridges was crumbling a bit, so I took a piece of that, and I took a big leaf from Africa for my daughter. But when we went to Disney World when it opened, I had a little jar with me. I guess my mother had it in her purse, and my father said, "Why don't you take some of the water home from It's a Small World?" And I did. I just dipped it over the boat, and years later, my mother threw that away.
Oh,
Mothers
no.
do that.
Along with my driver's permit. Because when my mother cleaned the house, she ended up tossing things that you needed.
Well, that's a big deal right now. People collect water from all the different parks around the world and have them labeled. I don't know if it was Tony Baxter that kind of started that idea, but I know he has done that, and my friend Bill Morgan has done that, and others.
Yeah, that and beach sand is very popular too. People collect beach sand from all over the world.
Well, Bill should know this. You collecting the ash out of a fire pit from the fire the night before on a Boy Scout camping trip. I presume you've done that, Bill. We, do that all the time. You have a
No,
little. No, you never did it.
No.
Never did that.
that's one that I've managed to avoid. We have lots of rocks from the places we've been. I think,
Yeah.
we've now realized you better start labeling them, or after a while you can't remember what rock came where.
Oh, same thing here, exactly.
Yeah, I have that trouble with bricks because one brick just looks like another one, so you have to label them.
Yeah, it's funny all the things collect. I remember reading years ago a satirical piece that somebody did, how the world's orbit was changing because all the weight of National Geographic magazines stacked in people's garages and attics had thrown it off kilter. I keep saying we've changed the Earth's, global warming. I know what caused it. It's all the refrigerator magnets changing the Earth's magnetic pole.
Oh, no.
Somewhere like we go in our kitchen, I know there's a refrigerator under those magnets somewhere.
Kathy Peroni sent us a magnet for our fridge. And I had to ask her, what is this? I didn't know what it was.
Really?
Yeah. It's from Hotel Alani.
Oh,
And
okay.
that's looks kind of more like a key card or something. So I was just like, what is this?
The Golden
What's this?
Horseshoe.
What are we watching?
This is Golden Horseshoe Review.
Oh,
Donald
okay.
Lewis.
That's not Wally Bogue, is it?
I don't know. Yeah, that's Wally there.
Oh, wow.
He's doing his boogaloons.
Yeah. Look
Yeah,
how
when I
young
get,
he looks.
well,
Wow.
yeah, when I get the new light source, I have to obviously redo this, but there he is. Playing the
Wow.
bagpipes.
Yeah, so with that new light
So
source, you'll be able
cool.
to take out a lot of this distortion that we're seeing here.
Yes, exactly. This
Okay.
light source has a grid of 7 lights in it, and basically going through a diffuser. The new one has 81 much brighter, smaller ones, and it gives a lot brighter light, but more importantly, more evenly balanced, so you don't see the drop-offs that you do in this one.
So there was another gentleman in the picture a second ago that looked a lot more like Wally Bogue that came
Yeah,
in.
the thing was Donald Novus at the beginning, and then Wally Bogue.
There I go. Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to redoing this one nicely. It's the longest footage I've found so far of the Golden Horseshoe Show. He is again as
Cool.
Pecos Bill.
Oh, Betty Taylor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did they ever do a segment on that show, on the Disneyland show? I thought I remembered seeing something
Yeah,
on
they did.
television.
Yeah,
And,
with the net.
Yeah, with a net in it. And Gene
Okay.
Sheldon.
And they released a 45 with her and at the Diamond Horseshoe Review.
Yeah, Hey,
In
Mr. Piano Man.
Yeah.
Diamond Horseshoe or the Golden? Which park are we talking?
Golden.
Golden.
Yeah, Golden would be the California park.
Right.
So, Bill, since you're going in December to the park, Pirates of the Caribbean said that they're getting rid of Johnny Depp.
Oh, they are.
And so I'd be curious, would you check and see if that's true and also if that meant getting rid of Barbosa on the ship?
Yeah, I'll do that. They'll probably end up doing it after the holidays because I don't think Pirates is down right now for rehab.
Because they took Davy Jones out already. That was something I missed when we were just there. It's like, what happened to Davy Jones?
He probably broke.
Yeah. Well, remember it was just a image shown on a waterfall kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pirate ship and scaffolding back there.
Bill, have you gone to Tokyo
Yeah.
Disneyland?
Yeah. Been there a couple times.
It's weird how, yeah, we went in 2018 and like a lot of the pirates, it's exactly how it was when it opened in terms of there's no bridge or the way you enter it in their New Orleans Square, and they have the old Dumbo still, and they still have a ramp that goes up to Space Mountain. It's weird. It felt really weird, like it was a combination of Walt Disney, Magic Kingdom, and Disneyland, and also the time. It was interesting when we went.
Yeah, it's an interesting experience. You walk in through the World Bazaar, and there's all these people dressed in the same. Oh, here's the midget Autopia. No, this is the regular Autopia, or is it the? It looks like the orange midget Autopia, but it looks like the regular Autopia cars. No, one thing I noticed on these is none of the big metal rails that were around them to keep them from smacking into things.
Is this? Well, do we know where that was? Was that the Frito-Lay?
I don't know what
Rancho
that
Zuccotti?
was. I don't know what that was. See, it's a nice smoggy day. Pretty amazing though, if you think, if this is 1958, as I think it was, that 3 years ago, this was orange groves. 4 years ago, orange groves. The original train station up there. Doesn't look like the Autopia has grown in much, has it? That's at the base of the world clock. Again, when they redid it, nobody thought about saving any of this stuff, so it was just taken out and tossed. I never knew that was the state motto for Michigan. A modified change of spacesuit. This one looks even more uncomfortable. Talk about being out of character for the land you're in.
Bill, is there a rule about characters from different sections, not walking into other ones in costume?
Yeah, pretty much. So in some cases you can avoid it. We don't have a tunnel system out here like they do in Florida. So if you're from the Haunted Mansion and you're going to the employee cafeteria, which would be off to the right here, you have no option other than to walk through, Adventureland or go past the hub in there. But you basically would never find somebody like in a performer's costume like that Indian. They would take you and put you in just jeans or something, walk back to the break area.
Right.
So wardrobe and everything is back behind Space Mountain. So again, they've changed things a lot now, where the people actually take their costumes home, and can come in, park, and go in there. But you wouldn't see somebody with the Haunted Mansion costume just casually going into say Swift to get an ice cream cone on their break.
It still shocks me today to see people walk outside of Disneyland in their costume and with their name tags.
Yeah.
It kills me.
Oh, it really kills some of the magic of it. When I worked there, if we were going into the park to eat lunch, we had to take our name tags off, which, again, people could tell you work there because you're walking in to get, your hamburger or something, wearing a tie. But the name tags had to come off for a pretense that we weren't taking space away from a paying guest so we could get a hamburger. Like I said, on some of this, normally I would just chop some of this footage out. I'll restore it again the next time I rescan it, but we're just getting the unedited dump right now. This family was evidently there 3 different days, because we've gone day to night, and back to day again. What I liked in some of this is he took nice long shots of things like this monorail going by, and we didn't just get, 5 seconds of this, 5 seconds of that. He has a pretty good section here if the guy is coming down the Matterhorn. There must be another one. There's a good section where the guy's rappelling, and he's just bouncing way out in the air and coming down. Looks like he's having a heck of a good time.
I like the subtle look of characters like the skull we just saw there in the waterfall. I noticed that when I first watched Ratatouille, and they went to the scene of Ego in his office, and the first thing you see is the back of the typewriter, which was roughly the shape of a skull, looked like a skull. And then the next scene was the overhead view looking down in his office, which was the shape of a coffin.
Oh,
It's just those little subtle things that are just, if you don't recognize it, you're just really not paying attention.
yeah. Okay. This is just what was ever at the end of it. So now we're going to go to August 1967. And again, what's in before, kids playing with their toys. And on some of these, you get the little 3-inch reels that run 4.5 minutes or so, and others you get these giant reels, 7-inch, 9-inch reels, and you have to go through, all sorts of other stuff to get to the Disneyland stuff. And I was watching one 2 days ago when I was doing this, and it was like a treasure chest of scenes of old toys, that they getting the creepy crawly thing where you made your own worms and stuff out of hot wax, the concentration board game. It was just all these toys I remember growing up and getting as a kid, and they're all, happily unwrapping them as Christmas or birthday presents. So it's sad though, that, I mentioned before, to think that, this was somebody's family remembrance of the kids growing up, and now, it's, toss it out, get rid of it. Again, this is 1967. This was a standard 8 movie. Super 8 was out at this time, I believe, or just coming out. I don't remember if it came. No, it wasn't out of 67. I think Super 8 came out around 69. But this is a standard 8 film. Riding inside the Casey Jr. train.
I was attending a talk at the Walt Disney Family Museum where Kim Irvine was speaking, and she said that when Harriet Burns was doing the model for teacups, she just kind of drew some scribbles on them, not thinking that those would be actually the final designs. And so when she saw the final design of the teacup, she was in shock that they actually literally carried out her just little scribbles on the
Oh, that's
model
funny.
to actual final product. Yeah, I guess they were just in such a rush to get everything done that they just said, just do it. That's the impression I got from that story.
That's
Just
funny.
get it done, move on to the next thing.
Does everybody remember Prairie Dog Land? We've obviously left Disneyland and we've gone to, I believe, the LA Zoo at this point. Yeah, it's interesting. You hear stories like that about people. That's interesting, mixing elephants and seals. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was thinking the same
That's-
thing. That's weird.
That's where they came up with elephant seals.
Oh God. Oh, oh. I'm off to Salt Lake City to go kick somebody's ass. Elephant seals.
Are you sure we're not at Knott's Berry Farm?
I was wondering that. I think this may well be Knott's.
Oh no, that's the zoo. Knott's never got that.
I didn't
Wow.
think Knott's had bears and stuff of this size, but I didn't remember. The zoo had the petting farm is kind of unusual.
They never had bears at Knott's Berry Farm
Oh, okay.
or apes.
Yeah, I mean, so much fun stuff just shows up in these random reels. I just bought a long reel this morning of Busch Gardens. I'm really looking forward to getting that in and working in that, where they go through there's the LA Zoo. They go through the monorail ride, and now they're just back at home. I think I got time for one more here. Let's see.
Do you have any film of Knott's Berry Farm?
Oh yeah, I have a bunch of it. I'll put out there. So we see the end of their Easter day, and now they off to Disneyland. Again, this is June 1968.
That was a nice picture of you, Bill, a few frames back, hanging off the bars.
Oh, thank you. That was right before you were down. That was no, I won't even go there. Never mind. Yeah, payback's a bitch. Okay. When are you coming to LA?
I'm sorry, I just couldn't let that one slide.
I just want to arrange when you get here a police escort for you.
Well, I've never been to LA. I've never been to California. I've never been to, I was only once on the West Coast, and that was in Portland, Oregon. For a day, I went for a job interview, and that was it. Apart from that, the west of the Rocky Mountains, I have not been.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, we speak pretty much the same language as you guys.
Well, actually, I was born and raised in Colorado Springs,
Oh, okay.
and essentially Colorado is essentially East Coast California. I mean, I remember growing up in the '60s, and everything that was in California we had in Colorado. That's where that's where our lifestyle seemed to be based upon, was California, as compared to the East Coast of the United States, Philadelphia, New Jersey, which was totally foreign. I mean, I lived in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, for 3 years as a first grade, kindergarten, first grade, second grade. My mother is originally from New Jersey, but that lifestyle is totally different than it is out in Colorado. So when I was in Colorado Springs, it was, well, whatever was going on in California was same thing happening in Colorado. We just didn't have Disney World, but we had Pikes Peak.
Yeah, Pikes Peak has the North Pole too, and then you had Garden of the Gods in.
Yeah, North
Yeah.
Pole. You go up the path. It's in Manitou Springs, just north of Manitou Springs. In Manitou, there was Santa's North Pole,
Yep.
and of course, yeah, Garden of the Gods. Well, yeah, I did a lot of camping as a scout in Colorado. Uh, so yeah, it's a different environment.
Yeah, it's a beautiful area. Up north, you've got Rocky Mountain State Park.
Well, this is later, and there's the extra rail on the people mover. Whoever took this didn't seem to realize what they were photographing very much. Lifting the camera up another inch or two would have been a good idea.
Maybe it was like a parallax view where they aren't seeing what the
Yeah,
lens is seeing.
yeah, it could well be.
I'm presuming that for most of you that know Disneyland and have worked for Disney, uh, that in seeing these films over and over and over and over again is not monotonous to you, because I would believe that if I'm looking at these things and I'm familiar with these places because I had either worked there or was associated them in some way, that you look more for the details and the variation of things from one film to the other, that you can place, that either allows you to place date, as Bill, as you were saying earlier, looking at the population sign at the front, or looking at things that maybe you recognize were there that weren't there before, that it's just not monotonous to you, even though it's repetitive. Okay, here's Pirates of the Caribbean over and over and over again. How many films you're going to see of Pirates of the Caribbean? That you've gone beyond that because you look at all the nuances between the films and can identify the differences.
Yeah, I just paused this as an example that, for example, right, I was looking as you were talking, and the sign for Storybook Land, the flowers were, not filled in, so you try to place that. Then right here, it says Fantasyland Theater, because it was originally the Fantasyland Theater. Actually, it was originally the Mickey Mouse Club Theater, and then it became the Fantasyland Theater. So again, you can start, trying to go back and figure out, well, when did they do this? When did they change that? So I'm always looking at it for the little details of, the costumes that changed, thinking, oh, back they look like they were wearing cotton then before we were all stuck in polyester, god awful costumes. So now there's the squiggles you mentioned. That's great. I never knew, I always looked at those, never really thought how they came to be, but that's an interesting factoid to pick up. Thanks for adding it. And I'm always looking at little details.
No, I was going to say it's looking at these things more as research than it is, okay, it's a picture, it's a film of, Disneyland, big deal. You look at it as research.
Yeah, I also look at it too, the little things of the kids that are enjoying themselves, or the little things that as a cast member you may have known that somebody else didn't. To me, it's just escapism. I spend an hour looking at this, and I'm not looking at the news, and I'm not looking at the all the things that are going on in the real world that are out there and depressing. So I admit it. For me, it's a form of escapism. Excuse me.
I think we all have that. As an architect, I'm constantly looking at somebody who submits a floor plan on Facebook or something, and they all go, "Oh, that's lovely. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, I could live there." My first thought is, what a piece of crap design. Who did this? The guy must have been drunk when he laid it out on the drafting board. It was horrible, because I'm looking at it more in terms of analytics than I am in terms of wonderment.
You
I
just ditched Knott's Berry Farm.
Yeah, well, I tell you, if you want Knott's Berry Farm, hang on a second. Let me see if I can go back to Knott's Berry. I think the next reel.
I have a special spot for Knott's Berry Farm.
Then for you, we will do Knott's Berry Farm. So we're going to go to Knott's Berry Farm, June 1968. So we finish at the Disneyland section, and now we go off to Knott's. Going for a horse ride in the middle of the park. Mom's desperately trying to get the stroller over the train tracks.
Those are mules.
Knott's Berry Farm is in California.
It's in Buena Park, California.
Yeah,
it's about, still there.
10 miles from Disneyland.
It's now a roller coaster park.
Yeah. Well, again, one of the things I look at how things changed. Today there's big fences keeping everybody away from the train. Back then, it just came running, rolling up right in the middle of the park. Kids could get run over if they were stupid or come out and touch the hot train. Now everything's protected. You got to make sure nobody does any of that.
He ruled the park.
Was he really standing on that roof? Was that real? That mountain goat?
Yeah, yeah.
That's where the petting zoo was.
Yeah, it was just a little billy goat.
Yeah.
What I remember Knott's Berry Farm was didn't they have a chicken restaurant, and
they still have a chicken dinner restaurant.
And
that's how it started.
Was it? Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah,
chicken dinners and boysenberry pie for dessert.
Yeah,
Right.
basically Walter Knott started with a stand selling berries out by the side of the road. And his wife decided to start selling dinners. And they make a big thing at their chicken restaurant. They have a sign about the history about how she used her family china, to do it. And then the lines got so long, this part's real blurry here. Let me look for something else I wanted to end with. They started trying to come up with an area to entertain the crowds waiting for the chicken restaurant, and that's how they got into what we have today. Now this is a film I picked up that's interesting. It's called Popular Personalities of the 50s, and I want to see how many mistakes people can spot that they made on this thing. Again, I don't know why you would buy this particular film and how many times you would show it to your family, but it happened to be in a box of other movies that I got. This has not been stabilized, so you can see some of the camera shake. All right, let me pause this here 1 second. Anybody notice anything on this one?
He misspelled Elvis.
Yeah. Elvis Presley, right?
Huh. So those are the popular people of the 50s, huh?
Yeah.
Harry Truman.
Speak of the devil, here comes Harry.
Oh, here comes Harry.
And he's explaining to everybody, yes, there is
Is he
no,
at the White House? Yeah, I guess he
Yeah.
is.
looks like they're giving a tour.
They're interviewing him. No sound, right?
What's that?
No sound.
Nope. This
Nope.
is just the way the thing came. Now, what a lot of times they would do, they would offer it in both 16 millimeter with sound and 8 millimeter silent. Often with the silent ones, they would then cut in subtitles like the one we just saw where they misspelled it. In this case, it looks like they just went off and
Well, this may have been, he did
Is
give
he
a tour
playing the
of the White
piano?
House.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he
Did
could
he
play the
play the
piano.
piano?
Yeah, he did. He used to entertain people that way. But
Wow.
he had the White House remodeled after Franklin Roosevelt. I guess it was a pretty bit of a mess after that family left, and so he had it, and that was probably the tour they gave afterwards. Anyway,
that's where he had to stay in Blair House for a year or two while they were gutting the White House. I've seen pictures of it. They just totally tore out the entire insides of it.
Did you guys know Walt Disney was big friends with Richard Nixon?
Figured he must have been to have him cut the ribbon of the
well,
monorail.
he was for a while, and then
Disney
when
would call
Nixon
him
became,
Dick, and
yeah, but when he became
Nixon
governor of
would call
California, Walt
Walt.
hated him.
So
I don't know what Nixon's telling us, but I don't trust him.
Why did Walt sever a relationship when Nixon became governor?
There was some-
I never heard that. I don't know.
There was something, I was told this by one of the old
He
timers
ran he wasn't
at
governor.
Disney.
I didn't.
Well, yeah, he ran, but he
He ran, but he never made it.
no, he didn't. When as I misspoke there, I meant when he ran for governor of California. But he said he would never trust him again. It was something he did personally that he just never, and I don't remember who it was.
Walt
Somebody at
and him
Disney.
had a falling out. I didn't.
Yes.
Oh my god.
That Nixon
that's
that Nixon had done, right?
Yes, something Nixon
Yeah.
had done upset Walt, and I'm trying to remember who it. I want to say it was Ken Anderson was telling me about it when I was working with him.
I just heard yesterday that Nixon was at the Contemporary Resort when he resigned as president.
No, I think he
That was John Lennon.
No, there was when he was at the Contemporary, didn't he give one of his like checkers speeches or he did something? He resigned when he was there?
That's what they said.
Could be. There's Grace Kelly now. Because I know
Here's Grace Kelly.
Love Grace Kelly.
yeah. Again, it'd be nice if they gave some context to what we're seeing, what they're doing, like what was Nixon speaking about? What is she doing here with the doll? It's just famous personalities, but there's no context to it.
Is this stuff that people got for a wedding?
Beats me.
Ooh.
Well, perhaps no context to those viewing it now. I'm sure everybody back then knew what was going on.
Yeah.
And so this was a souvenir film. I mean, everybody knew the lives of William Holden and Grace Kelly back then. William Holden was a big star. And Princess Grace, well, before she became Princess Grace, everybody loved Grace Kelly. So, you're right. These are just souvenir films, like souvenir take-home films from Disney
There's
World.
the prince.
Put a little
It
subtitle.
doesn't look real happy.
Well, you can't when you're the queen. No, but I mean,
Well, what you can do, Bill, is this week, why don't you write up a little script and then re-show it next week, and you can then narrate a little script for us.
I'll add subtitles. Boy, this suit's tight.
Oh, that's the
Why is
prince.
this over?
Make sure you have
It
a
was,
little
He
music.
looks a little hot under the collar.
It was Nixon doing the "I'm not a crook" speech at the Contemporary Resort.
Right, that's what I
Yeah.
thought you did there.
Oh, look at this.
He was like, I told him no starch in my collar.
Off with his head.
Yep.
It's good to be the king.
You can't even see him.
Wow.
Yeah, this has got to be
Oh,
one.
there's Elvis. Spelled with
that?
an A,
Now there's Elvis.
for God's sake. Where is he? Is he at?
Looks
It looks like an
teddy
amusement
bear,
park.
giant nipper dog off to the side there.
Okay, Elvis, hit it.
Means RCA was there.
Yeah,
I got to see Elvis live.
did you?
Yep.
I live by Elvis.
Yeah.
Oh, is he
Yeah,
young?
I was born in Memphis, and we lived about 2 or 3 miles away, and we would pass by his house every day. But before he passed, and then
Graceland?
I never did visit to Graceland. Yeah, I never visited there.
Do you know it costs $70 to go through Graceland now?
Look at this. They're escorting her away. She crashed up on the stage.
What happened? Oh, somebody got up there? Yeah.
Yeah.
He was
What's,
good looking, I must say. Not my thing, but
What is green and sings?
I do not know.
Elvis Parsley.
Oh,
Oh,
I
that's
got
Clark
say
Gable.
Kermit the
Yeah,
Frog.
that's Clark Gable.
That was a
Wow,
little
who's
that was
with it?
that was a little joke in a Cracker Jack joke book I remember as a
Debbie
kid.
Reynolds? Is that Debbie
Paul
Reynolds?
Newman.
Oh, there's Paul Newman. See, I know all the old ones. I couldn't tell you who's popular today.
Yeah. Robert Wagner.
Oh,
Gary Cooper.
wow.
This is like a newsreel with the sound off.
Yeah, that's what they said. This was all edited from Fox Movie Tone newsreels.
Oh, wow. I wonder who she was. She got an
That's,
Academy Award.
Yeah, that's what's her name from.
Oh, there's
Clark.
Cary Grant.
Yeah.
Is that Vivian Lee? Yep, that's Vivian Lee. That must have been for a Streetcar Named Desire. Here's John Wayne.
Yeah. He gets a lot of footage.
Yeah, he does. He's still popular. Knott's Berry Farm sells stuff about him in Virginia's.
There's no longer the John Wayne Theater down there, though, is it?
I don't know if I don't think it's called the John Wayne Theater anymore. You know, I'm not sure I can't think what they call it now. Now, who's this?
Do not know.
She's gonna sleep with that thing.
It
Look at
looks
her
like
hands.
Joanne Woodward.
Yeah, I think it's Joanne Woodward.
Oh, she's having a moment.
I'd
Is that
think
Joanne Woodward?
that's what
Yeah.
they're guessing.
I think it is too.
Well, then it's final.
Yeah, she was the woman that was with Paul Newman at the beginning.
Yeah.
So it had to been.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
That's the
Steve
Bratzy.
Allen.
Yeah, and Bratzy from South Pacific, right?
Yep.
This guy?
No,
Who
wait a
is
minute.
he?
No, wait a minute. That's somebody else. That's
Pinza, ACO Pinza.
Yeah, it said
Yeah.
honors
It's also
Pinza.
South Pacific, but I wouldn't recognize his face.
yeah,
I
Yeah, it
don't
said
know
it
who he
honors
is.
Pinza and Nose.
Down he
yeah.
goes. Ty Riley. With just his third drop of the season. Picks up
And here's the Nose.
Oh, here's Jimmy Durante.
And watch what he does. This is a real kick.
Oh my God.
You better hope that's not quick setting cement.
Oh, Jesus.
Lifted blade is on the first down for Arizona at the Utah 29. Open the drive.
We have somebody who
There's
needs to
Marilyn
beat themselves.
Monroe.
Ahead.
Wow. And I can't remember. Jane Russell? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, that this must have been after Some Like It Hot was Some Like It Hot came out. Not Some Like It Hot, but
Gentlemen prefer
Gentlemen
blonde.
Prefer Blondes.
Yeah.
God, was she appealing?
Somebody's
or
got a
not?
radio or something on. If you could.
Oh,
mute
there
yourself,
she is with
please.
Joe DiMaggio. God.
Sideline has his play called, and now at the line of scrimmage, he'll go under center. Michael White go back.
Hey, who's ever listening to a football game?
Oh, sorry.
No, it's baseball, dear.
Line of scrimmage?
He put a rose on her grave for eons.
Yeah.
Just before he died, he stopped.
Jolton Joe DiMaggio.
There they go on their honeymoon.
So anyway, that's the end of famous people of the 1950s.
Oh, they didn't hit them all.
So I hope there were a few odds and ends that people hadn't seen before. Who started the day today saying, I bet I'm going to go back to Tomorrowland of the 1950s and end it with Joe DiMaggio. I mean, that's where we go in different directions. Hey, Richard, I saw you joined us late. Thanks for coming in. So let me just look at the chat and see if there's anything here. Any particular memories anybody had?
I saw
Oh, and-
Walt Disney on Main Street when I was about 5 or 6.
Beth is gone now, but she was saying that she liked Gold Doubloons and Pieces of Eight song from the Hardy Boys and Mickey Mouse Club. Another song my kids got sung to sleep with. So, the thing is, I'm such a bad singer. I think the kids force them to go to sleep right away. So, I think it worked that way. Except Carol, no, our daughter Margot, boy, you would try to put her to sleep and she ain't gonna work. I'm gonna stay up. She fought us. So for next week, I don't know how many people are busy with families or other things next week because of Thanksgiving. I didn't know if we should try to get together. You're busy, Brock?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think a bunch of people are. So I think maybe we'll take next week off and I'll try to catch up and get some of I have a whole bunch of other movies. I literally, this one family that I'm doing the movies right now, they were a military family based in San Diego, and they would go to Disneyland quite often. And the issue is you have to go through a big reel of film, watch it because they didn't bother labeling where they were. And you'll be watching, Johnny's, like this particular one, I made notes, they start here and where do we start? We start with boys playing in the backyards, some snowy fields, the Crow Country cabin sign, and you go through all this interesting stuff, model rocket launches, and you're going along, and all of a sudden, bam, there's Disneyland. So it's fun to watch it, and like I said, I may restore some of this stuff. The model rocket stuff was amazing. I mean, there were some pretty good sized ones that were standing yay tall, and you're watching, and you feel bad for the photographer because he's wasting all his film of this rocket just sitting there, and I can imagine you almost giving up. Okay, I'm going to just give up, and all of a sudden it just goes. So, but lots of footage of stuff like that. So I'll wish folks a happy Thanksgiving. Hope everybody's. We're only having 3 people here, so if anybody's in the area and they want turkey, Carol's got she mentioned a turkey she's got to make, and we're gonna have turkey, I think, for the next 3 weeks or so. So. But she does it for me. I'm a turkey fanatic. So
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hope everybody has a good time, and I guess we'll be back in 2 weeks then.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you, Bill. It was a fun
Well,
day today.
thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Oh,
Yep,
glad
thank
enjoyed.
you.
Take care.
Happy
Bye-bye.
Thanksgiving. Bye.
Thank